Well, there have been some big doings up in the area of Texas where I live over the last week. Figure I'd show you where some of them happened. I am currently on the outskirts of Weatherford, Texas, and I'm driving into the center of town. 1 week ago today, at right about this time of day, there was an occurrence that made national news. Earlier in the day that day, nearby Fort Worth, which is the big city in the next county over to the east, had a Back the Blue demonstration, and a group of counter-protesters from a group called Enough is Enough were there for the Black Lives Matter movement. And the Back the Blue protesters were yelling and cursing out the counter-protesters who were basically, just standing there with signs. Meanwhile, here in Weatherford, which is located in Parker County, Texas, a group called the Parker County Progressives was organizing a march for 4 blocks from downtown Park to the county courthouse as a protest over the statue of a Confederate soldier that's in front of the courthouse. Well, the Fort Worth group Enough is Enough had already planned on coming out to assist the Parker County Progressives to kind of help boost their numbers up a little bit, because here in Parker County there aren't very many progressives. This is a very red county. It's mostly rural. And it's very red. And I always used to joke, the newspaper here is the Weatherford Democrat, and I always joke that newspaper, the only Democrat in Weatherford was the newspaper. But there were some progressives here, and so the Fort Worth group Enough is Enough said that they would come out, and they printed out a flyer. And their flyer was protest for removal, and they were talking about the statue that's in front of the courthouse. And I'm going to put the poster up. And instead of spelling out the word "for," they used the numeral 4 with a kind of a brush paint font. And, well, that got misunderstood as an ampersand. And so Parker County right-wing groups saw the poster, saw that there was a Fort Worth group that was BLM. Oh, by the way, right here, pay attention. I'm coming up on it here in a sec. Somewhere by this medical clinic, right there, that building, right there with the brown roof. I'm looking at it with my helmet, and the sign says Weatherford Police Department. Pay attention to where the Weatherford Police Department is. I'm passing the Weatherford Police Department right now. Okay, so back to what I was talking about. So they saw this sign, and they instead of saying that's a 4, thought it was an ampersand, and thought the poster was protest and removal of the statue. And so the local alt-right groups and some that are more well-known or better affiliated, they put out the call, and it morphed into BLM, which these people actually think is an actual organization instead of a movement, Black Lives Matter movement. That, BLM is one overarching far left group, and that they're the same thing as Antifa. What's going on here? Oh, some kind of thing. Lots of Trump flags. Confederate flags. And what the hell? Actual Confederate flags, not the cross stars and bars. So anyway, here's the main highway. So they came out to counter-protest the protesters, because again, they thought BLM and Antifa, which it also is not an organized group, but they consider them to be massive terrorist organizations, and they wanted to protect the statue and protect our town, and just morphed into people thinking that that an outside group was going to start a riot here and tear the statue and vandalize everything and all of that. In the meantime, the people who actually lead the actual groups of Parker County progressives and Enough is Enough had told their people, don't start anything, don't mess anything up, we'll kick you out of the group. The leader of the Parker County progressives contacted the chief of the Weatherford police the day before his demonstration, the 4-block march to the courthouse. And the police chief wasn't too happy about it. By now it had already kind of blown up that, they're going to tear the statue down, and the organizer from Parker County Progressive said, no, that's not our plan. Give me a chance to show you I'm a man of my word. And we're just going to march single file from the park to the courthouse, be there for a little bit. We'll be there about 5:45, 6 o'clock, and all of that. And the chief said, well, if it gets out of hand, I'm shutting it right down, like right away. And I put a photograph of this statue on one of my vlogs a month or so back. I'm looking right at the Parker County Courthouse right in front of me. But, the sun's going down, so it may not come out all that clear. Anyway. So after the thing in Fort Worth that day, that wasn't going so well for the Enough is Enough people, there's somebody out there with a sign right now. And there's Weatherford police here too. So anyway, they came out here to Weatherford to set up at the park, and you gonna hit me or what? And so but the courthouse square that I'm going around here right now, and all these buildings around it, and the roads and stuff, were all full of hundreds of counter protesters carrying, I missed that turn. All I saw on her sign was ALM is not the issue. I missed that. So anyway, so they get here to this square, and somewhere over there was the statue. The statue's on that side where she was standing. But there's like the Enough is Enough and Parker County progressives are expecting 50 to 70 people out of their group. Well, there's hundreds of counter protesters out here with Confederate flags and assault rifles and knives and brass knuckles, and they're already harassing people that are setting up, throwing water bottles at them, hurling racial slurs. A former Parker County commissioner is driving around the square here with a trailer in tow that's got a mannequin in there that's supposed to represent Barack Obama and one that's supposed to represent Bill Clinton, and they're in a jail cell, and he's got All Lives Matter and deep state demon rats underneath the... So you get an idea. And somewhere around one of these buildings, somebody's on top of the roof of their truck with a rifle. There's something going on over there. Anyway, I want to go over here to this park. So anyway, what was I talking about? So they're out there. They start sending text messages to the police going, hey, I know it's like 3:15 and we weren't supposed to start for, well, they didn't say that, but they were there early because people who got there early saw this huge crowd that was armed and said, hey, we need some help. Well, the police had been told 6 o'clock, and they weren't doing anything before 6 o'clock. The police chief was slow on answering text messages, and by the time he got there, just by the time he got there was just dispersing stuff. In the meantime, there's punches thrown, knives are at people, and all that stuff. Now, you saw how long it took me to get from the courthouse to this park. This is the park. It's called Cherry Park, where the protest was supposed to stage, and this was where the march was going to be from here to the courthouse. Well, when the police dispersed, the counter-protesters followed the protesters all the way back here. The only arrests made were counter-protesters who, had thrown punches and stuff. But it ended up getting on national news, and the people in this county, for the most part, were really proud of what they called the Patriots. See, when the organizer of Parker County Progressives first got to the courthouse square, he sent a text message to the chief saying, "I'm at the square already and it's packed," and to which the chief said, "With Patriots or BLM?" And I don't know what the chief was doing. The Parker County sheriffs locked themselves in the courthouse. There were a couple of troopers out with stuff and all of that. And I'm going to go back by the courthouse here and see what the hell's going on. But anyway, it was all because they used a number 4, instead of spelling out FOR. And so it got misrepresented to be, we're going to remove the statue, which got translated to, we're going to tear the statue down. And it went around on the local Facebook group. Now, if your small town has one of those Facebook groups that says, the people who live here talking, that's what we need to be on the lookout for, because these rumors spread like wildfire. It's come back at the courthouse from this direction. Because there's a group of people across the street. So anyway, so the people in the county I live in, which is one county east and one county south from here, started posting up and good for Weatherford. They stood up to the bullies who were going to tear down their statue, and that was the prevailing attitude. They not only thought they accomplished something, but other rural counties thought of them as heroes for showing up and holding guns on people. It's hot. Okay, so it looks like we got a couple of women over here wearing masks. Yeah, they're BLM. They're saying ALM is not the issue, BLM underlined. Across the street over here, we've got the counter protest. The Trump flag with the Rambo. Some guys in tack vests and weaponry. Confederate flag around here somewhere. Well, much smaller group, but yeah, there's something here. Oh, fuck. This wasn't good. Well, let's just do this. Yeah, this building here that says the Cotton Bratton Furniture, this is the one that had the dude set up on the roof of his truck like he was a sniper's nest. So anyway, that was Weatherford. So anyway, if your small town has these your small town talking Facebook groups, be aware that they'll morph into misinformation quickly. Here's the lesson. That whole deal happened last Saturday. By the following Monday, in Johnson County talking, and in the county seat, Cleburne, the Cleburnites talking Facebook group, a post was made that said, "I heard it at church that BLM is coming to Cleburne to threaten to burn down the Liberty Hotel if they don't take down the mural with the stars and bars on their building." my first clue, and I'll show you this when I get there. I'll show you the clue when I get there. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop this recording momentarily so I can pull over into a place and set up time lapse, and I'm going to ride a little bit less than an hour to the southeast to the town of Cleburne from Weatherford, and I'll tell you what happened in Cleburne the Tuesday after this Weatherford protest. You know, I was going to wait until after I stopped and switched stuff over and, you know, got myself some water before I, but before I leave Weatherford, I just have to point out there were 4 older white women, one wearing a face mask that says faith, the other one wearing a sign, wearing a sandwich board that I didn't quite get what it said, and holding a sign that said ALM is not the issue, BLM underlined. And that was the extent of the protest at the statue. Across the street looked to be 2 or 3 dozen white guys, some of them in tactical vests and at least one with an assault rifle to protect the statue from those 4 women. This is the world we live in, y'all. Okay, so that is the Liberty Hotel. It has no mural anywhere on it. This is across the street. This is a long mural, multiple murals that just are all about the history of this town of Cleburne, Texas. Chisholm Trail Drive, Train's Big Santa Fe Depot, minor league baseball team, which they brought back, dude on a horse and an oil rig, and then this big one that has as its centerpiece a painting of General Patrick R. Cleburne, the namesake of the town, who was a Confederate general who died in the Battle of Franklin. So this is the mural they were talking about. I also said stars and bars, and you look up there, and the Confederate flag that's up there is, you know, the actual Confederate flag, not the stars and bars. So that's the mural they were talking about. But that's the hotel they said it was on. Now these are the people who said, hey, BLM's coming to town, and come out and prepare. And people were just, you know, figuratively up in arms on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we're literally up in arms. This parking lot that I'm sitting in, start baby, there you go. This parking lot that I'm sitting in, full of people, well, up to, from about here to this street. And this is called Caddo Street. And all the way from in front of that restaurant, a couple of blocks that way, a couple of blocks this way, and around the courthouse square, and I'm going to be going by in a minute, on both sides of the street, people with their Trump flags and MAGA hats, and quite a few of them with weaponry. Pistols, rifles, shotguns, assault rifles. One guy had a crossbow. One guy had a compound bow. One guy had a good 12-inch knife on his hip. I was looking for somebody to have a sword, because that's legal here too. But that corner there was full. I'm going to try to put some pictures up, and I'll do something that I haven't done before, and I'm going to link to some other YouTube videos down in the description. And I'll put in descriptions of the videos from the Weatherford protest and one of the videos from the Cleburne counter protest, which really wasn't a counter protest because there was no protest to counter. See, the thing is, it came out as I heard it at church, and then other people were posting, I have it from a reliable source. And it started off as protesters, and then it became BLM, and that was a dog whistle to the far right people in the town and the county and nearby areas. And then it morphed into Antifa, and it was they're going to burn down the Liberty Hotel, which, as you can see, the mural's not on that building, and the Gone with the Wind Museum. There's a museum here in this town for Gone with the Wind that's a few blocks the other direction. And so, of course, they had guys out, protecting that from nothing but hearsay, and nobody ever said what the reliable source was. They just said that it was a reliable source. So hundreds of people in both towns armed against what in Weatherford was going to be a peaceful march, and here in Cleburne that was just somebody trying to stir the pot on their local Facebook Cleburnites and Johnson County talking pages. So here's my point, guys. First off, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Secondly, definitely don't get your news from social media. Thirdly, this is the reaction, the dog whistle reaction of the neo-Confederates and Trump supporters. You gotta, because basically what these turned into were Trump mini rallies. There were more Trump flags and Trump hats than Confederate flags. And here's a truck with a Confederate flag on the other side of the road. And so this is just where we're at. And of course, how many people from the, I guess they say Antifa, I guess you call them pro-fascism. They're the ones not wearing masks, so they don't, and the ones who are with BLM or Enough is Enough, Parker County Progressives, they're wearing masks. So that's a way that you can tell, is who takes the pandemic seriously. And you can kind of tell who's a Trump supporter and who's a Biden supporter because of that. And here's the thing. As the election gets closer, and right now, for the last 2 weeks, polls have shown that Joe Biden is leading Donald Trump in Texas by 1 to 5 points. It's close. I don't know. It's probably going to be a red state. It could be a blue state. I don't know, but we're a battleground state now. Trump has to lose in November by a ton. Or what I'm worried about is all of these guys, the dog whistle guys, are going to come back, are going to come out in force because he lost and protest with their guns, and this time they're going to fire them. I mean, there were guys with their fingers on the trigger, pointing them at cars, pointing them at other people. It was not being responsible. There were beer bottles left over in the parking lot, so they weren't entirely sober. So just be on the lookout, guys. It could be coming to a rural town near you, and the first thing they're going to say is be on the lookout because BLM could come here. They don't know better. And this is what gets me. They think they did something. They think they're heroes. They think they stood up and protected their town. From what? I don't know, but who knows? All right. I will... So I'll put some links to those videos down in the comments and in the description, and we'll just keep looking out.